Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Last Republic of the People. Today, I want to talk about the false flag and how propaganda and media are trying to affect our upcoming election through the use of the false flag mentality. Um, Mr. Trump, honestly, I didn't know the guy too much except for a few reality shows, and I didn't really know who he was. I knew of him, but he didn't phase me one way or the other. Didn't realize he was destined to be our POTUS. After watching him in some of the debates and seeing that he was running for office, it started to click, that this guy was the real deal and he wasn't going to take any pushbacks from politicians or big pharma or anybody. He wasn't going to be bought. So I've wanted that for so long, somebody like that. So that really was part of the reason why I voted for him, is just to see a change in our government and to get rid of some of these corrupt politicians and the things he was promising. I wanted to see happen. So, and we've seen some of these things happen. So now he gets elected, and it was a backfire to the Democrats because they had a plan in place. And this plan consisted of a one world order and a socialized nation. And it's been going on since the Bushes and Clintons and the Obamas. And it was going to be Hillary, and she was going to finish it up, and we would have been done. We would have been a socialist nation. She would have been in office for 8 years, and it would just destroyed this country finally. But Trump stepped in, and he is the one reason that stood between them and us. And we all know this. So they pushed back. They panicked, because he ruined it for them. They panicked. What are they going to do now? So we've seen the lies. Immediately, it was the Russia hoax, and it was Trump's fault, and the collusion, and it's his fault, and he's cheating, and the Ukraine, and it's his fault. Well, Trump went after some big money people. He went after China. He went after some bad trade deals, and he started making us more money, made us energy independent. And he took money away from big countries like China. Now, so are they mad? I would say so. I mean, and the government that's involved with them and the career politicians that are making bank off of these guys, are they mad? The Ukraine, all these things that he's going to blow up had to tick these people off. So how do they respond? Well, what are they going to do? He's taking our money, man. He's taking everything we got. We've got to do something. Well, they can't do anything legally because he's not done anything illegal. So they have to create a hoax, if you will. They have to create something that the people will buy into and blame it on Trump. So the media is a big tool that was used. And let's just jump to January this year. January this year, we get the virus. Trump locks down the country. We got the Dems saying, he's overreacting, he's xenophobic. He stops travel bans, and all of a sudden on February 1st, Biden comes out and says, we got a virus. We've seen how that's played out. I'm not going to go play by play. But all these things that they've tried to unseat him and get him out of office, now they have an opportunity to try something else. Now, was the virus a plan? I don't know. Was it maybe just something that happened in China, where most plagues come from, that we've had as a culture of man? Most of them have come out of China or the Asia continent. And so was that on purpose? I don't know. But what I do know is that our left radicals and career corrupt politicians use that through the media as a tool to put fear into people. So here's where the plan comes into place. Everybody now is Aprilish. We're all in fear for our lives that we're going to die if we go outside, or if we're not wearing a mask, or if we're not 6 feet apart. That's what the mentality was. It wasn't Trump's fault at that point. It was just, holy crap, we're going to all die. But it was a plan. It was a plan to put fear in people that weren't free thinkers. It was a plan to destroy an economy. It was a plan to finally unseat him and maybe pull off a coup. So we watched the beginning of this start to unfold as they're like, okay, yeah, the people are scared, they're home, they're panicking. What else can they do? Well, now you've got all these people sitting at home, and especially young kids, and they're bored and they're getting stir crazy and angst and anxiety and all these things are happening to them emotionally. Well, let's give them something to do. So we stimulate them to start acting with violence. We've already got an economy that's crashing. They're bored and got nothing better to do. So some of these kids are not they're not poor. They're kids of that come from wealth. You can tell by the arrests and some of the kids that are going to jail that are on these Antifas, and they got jobs and their parents are wealthy, and they just don't care, and they hate what we are, and they hate this country. So it was very easily to stimulate them by the left, saying that Trump is a bad guy and Trump is wrong and Trump is the devil. It was easy for them to go, yeah, let's go after him. So now they create this violence in the streets, and that creates unrest. Now, it's not all of them, but it's created what we're seeing on TV because that's what the media shows us on TV. And we see the violence. We know that people are dying, and we know that people are suffering out there. But that's all part of the plan as well. We've heard it from the leaders. We've heard it from Clinton calling us deplorables. That's a divisive aspect, trying to separate us from who we are. We've had politicians say, "Get in their faces." We've had political people of power be ridiculed and confronted and surrounded and kicked out of restaurants like Sanders lady was. We see what happens to the elderly on the streets. We see what this Marxist terrorist organization is doing right now in the streets. Well, it's all by design. And they've all been led to believe that they're doing something righteous because the left has told them that they're doing something righteous, or they're paying them well, or they just don't care. So they're being drawn in under the guise that the left is the right way to go. So these non-believers or non-followers or people that just don't care about anything are sucking into this and believing that they're on the righteous path, when in reality, they're on the path of the devil, and they're on the wrong path. But they got sucked in because of the false flag that the Democrats are throwing out there. Now, are we falling under the false flag mentality? I don't think so. I think we're awoke enough that we're seeing the lies. We're seeing everything come true. We're seeing all these things unfold that Trump's not done any of this stuff. He's now responsible for climate change. That's his one of his faults now. But all of these things, if you blame fault at him because you don't like the man because of his tweets, you're going to immediately, because you're a follower, go to the place that's telling you, oh, I'm going to give you free health care. I'm going to give you free this, and I'm going to take care of you because I'm your government. Well, that's not what we are, folks. We don't want the government taking care of anything for us unless we ask them to. So we've watched the last couple months. It's gone on, and this was a planned effort, and it's a planned effort, straight up, period, to get him out of office. They want to come after our rights, and they have the same rights. They just don't care about them. So they're going after our rights. They're coming after our First Amendment. We see it with the big game tech companies. They're telling us what we can watch, what we can see, what we can do, what's on the internet, what's on Netflix, what's on TV. You don't get to watch this. It's crazy. I mean, we're being told and led, and we've got to stand up and fight this. So you destroy the economy is the number one plan. And how do you do it? You lock it down. Well, they locked down our country, and the media used the virus as the reason. And it put everybody into fear. Well, now everybody wants to vote from home that doesn't want to leave, but that are still under that guise of fear. And I understand that, and I'm sorry that you're afraid. But now the Democrats are not using that. They don't care that you're in fear. They want to get Trump unelected. They want to unseat him. So what they're going to do is use this lockdown aspect to create the voting fraud with the mail-in votes. So here's how it's going to play out, folks. And then I'm going to read the definition of a false flag. I'm going to post an article. It sums up a lot better, probably more eloquently than what I'm trying to state. Written by a gentleman on the Strategic Culture Foundation. His name is Tom Luongo. Wrote this on September 4th. I'll post this link to the end of my video, and you guys can judge for yourselves. But he wrote an article, and he's a political analyst, and he writes quite a few articles regarding what I'm saying right now. And the violence isn't going to stop, y'all. It's going to get worse. And what's happened with this guise of the false flag and getting all these followers to follow the radical left is that they're creating an army. And they're practicing right now of how to be structured. You know, the first few days of watching the violence and stuff, you could see that they didn't have rocks, they didn't have bats, they didn't have anything. They had a couple of black masks. But then they developed. Then they started getting stones, and you'd see guys dump rocks, and then they started lining up, and they had shields, and you started seeing them become more coordinated, and they get bigger. And a lot of them are paid, and this is all money, and I hope Rand's still pursuing his quest for who's funding all of this. But they're practicing right now. They're training because they're planning on unseating the president. And here's how it's going to play out. We're going to get to the election, and November 3rd, and he's going to win by a landslide. They know this. That's why they're doing all this, because they know they can't beat him. We know this. The followers that they have don't really know this. They're just following and destructing and destroying because they're paid to do so or told to do so. And they've been led to believe that they're doing this righteously. They're going to claim that he is not the president. He is not elected legally, that there are still thousands and millions of votes that haven't been tallied or counted because of the mail-in voting. And they're going to try to lock this down for days, weeks on end, of trying to say he is not the president. Well, he's going to stay because he's elected that day of because of the Electoral College. They're trying to abolish that. They want to throw that out the window. So that right there is what they're practicing for. And when he doesn't leave office after winning by a landslide, they're going to try to unseat him by force, I'm afraid. And I'm afraid they're going to try to use the people that are training and practicing right now to do so. And that's pretty scary. So I know that we've talked about getting together, and I'm not sure how we're going to all do this, but I know that we can't allow that to happen. So that's my theory on this. That's how the false flag works. I'm going to read the definitions of a false flag. I've been talking for quite a bit. I can get Rain Man-ish, and I tend to ramble sometimes. So I hope you guys get my point on what I'm talking about false flag. I'm going to read real quick the definitions, and then I'll post that article, and then you guys have a blessed weekend. And I'm going to be out of town next week, so I probably won't post a video as quick as I'd like to. False flag. An attack or another hostile action that obscures the identity of the participants carrying out the action while implicating another group or nation as the perpetrator. A misrepresentation of affiliation or motivation or a false equivalence deliberately put forth to manipulate the context, perception, or frame of action, object, or argument. A flag flown to disguise the nationality or affiliation of a vessel, vehicle, or base of operations. Now that last part is actually where the term originated from, back in the privateering days, 17th century, 16th century. Pirates and privateers would put up a flag, say, for example, the Spanish flag, and they would lure in a Spanish fleet or boat and unload on it, rob it, sink it, do what they do as pirates and privateers. That's where the term comes from, but it's currently being used by the left to create an army to unseat a U.S. president. So that's my opinion on what a false flag is going on in our nation. Please read the article. I hope you enjoyed this video today, and please remember all of our fallen heroes from 9/11. God bless everybody, and God bless Donald Trump. Have a great weekend.